Hello, everyone. We're super excited to see you all. It's our first webinar in a couple of months. We're going to wait just a couple minutes as people come in, but it would be great if you guys want to just share where you're from in the chat. What city are you dialing in from? And how long have you been using Elemind? Do we have the chat open? Let's see, where is the chat?
I'm looking at it. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, great. Aha. Awesome. We got people all over. This is so great.
Meredith, you should write New York City in 4 years or whatever that you've been sleeping with Elemind.
Oh, that's true. Yes. Oh, yeah. So, okay. Wow. We've got some 6-monthers, 1 month, 10 months, 3 months, 8 months. This is great. Okay. This is a good mix of people. I actually expected there to be more newcomers in here. So, as we're waiting for some more people to come on, there will be some people who have been sleeping with Elemind for now almost a year. And there could be some people in here that have been sleeping with Elemind for just a day, or maybe haven't even received their product yet. So we just put out a poll, actually. We'd love for you to answer it, how long you've been an Elemind customer, so that we have a better understanding of who's in here.
We can leave that open for a few minutes so that everyone who joins, because we have a lot of people coming in.
Great. Yeah, and also we had a ton of people sign up for this webinar today. We were so excited that there's so many people that wanted to join. However, what that does mean is that we probably won't be able to get to everyone's questions. We will try. We're going to try to look for themes amongst people's questions. So if we didn't answer your question and it's something that you've really been wanting to know, please email us or like let us know that you want a follow-up session, and we will make sure that your question gets answered. So the way that we have done this in the past that works really well is for people to put their questions in the Q&A box. So not in the chat, but actually if you look at the lower bar on the bottom of Zoom, right in the center, there's a little question mark and it says Q&A under that. And you can open that up and start writing your questions in there. And then we can actually check off which ones we've answered. So that's the most efficient if you guys can do that. So feel free to start putting in your questions. And we're excited to answer them. We're also excited today to share a new feature that's coming out soon. So we'll wait a little bit longer for people to join so we don't have to repeat ourselves.
Great. We could introduce everybody on the team.
That'd be great. All right. Yeah, just very quickly. Hi, everyone. I'm Meredith Perry. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Elemind, and would love to introduce you to David Wang, Joe McKinney, and Rashan Rajappa. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I guess I'll go first. Hi, everyone. My name is David Wang. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Elemind. Joe?
Hi, guys. I'm Joe McKinney. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Elemind.
Hi guys, I'm Rashan Rajappa and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Elemind.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, we have lots of questions popping up in the Q&A. Some people I notice are also putting questions in the chat. If you can move your question over the Q&A, it just makes it easier for us. And yes, we are recording this, and yes, we will make it available to everybody. Yeah, maybe we can start with the Q&A if you want, Meredith.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's dive in. Okay, so Thomas Cable has asked, I need to increase deep sleep, so wondering when that capability will be available. Thomas, we are working on it, and we're very excited to launch that feature to you. We have demonstrated it on our headband, but we have not incorporated it yet into the product. It is an exciting feature that we plan to launch, hopefully before 2026. So we know how many people want that, and in fact, we'd love to launch a poll to see which features you guys would like released in what order. The feature that we're going to release very soon is being released because of these webinars, actually, because you guys have requested this so much. So we're excited to talk about that in just a few minutes. So Sue Talman asks, will we eventually have it work all night? Not to stop after 30 minutes or when I fall asleep. So that's a great question. I want to address the first question of when will we have it working all night? So when you say, will we have it working all night? My guess is what you're asking is, will we be able to have the sound stimulating all night? Well, you actually don't want the sound stimulating all night. While the sound stimulation is very helpful at driving somebody from a state of wakefulness to a state of being asleep, it's actually not helpful to have the specific sound stimulation playing while you're asleep. It's actually disruptive to sleep. So while we will be moving away from the timer version of Elemind sleep stimulation, which we'll talk about a little bit later today, and moving into something more intelligent, we won't be ever doing all-night stimulation, at least in this form, because it's actually detrimental to your sleep. The deep sleep stimulation we will introduce later, but that will just be literally during the deep sleep part of your sleep. What we would have potentially in the future is something that could detect when you've woken up or that you're about to wake up, and then we would like to automatically restart the stimulation versus you needing to manually doing that by pressing the button. But now might actually be a good time for us to introduce this new feature. David, you want to take it away?
Sure. Let me share my screen. And let's talk about it a little bit. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. This is not going to be, unfortunately, much of a live demo. So the new feature we're releasing is going to be called Drift. Should be out this coming week. We have been honestly working on it for months at this point, and I hoped that it would have been out about a month ago at this point. But
someone can't see the screen. Can everyone see the screen? Please tell us in the chat if you can't.
I can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, maybe it's just one person. Sorry, David, keep going.
All right, sorry. Right, so let's talk about Drift a little bit. So right now, the stimulation paradigm is when you start a session, we basically play the stimulation sound. We track your brain waves for basically that first 20 minutes, and then we start to fade out the stimulation for about 10 minutes. So in total, you hear audio for about 30 minutes. We do know, however, scientifically, that playing the sound continuously as you're entering N2 stage of sleep is actually detrimental. So for those of you looking at the sleep staging data in the app, we don't make a distinction between N1 and N2 sleep. We call both of them light sleep. So let's say this is the late stage of light sleep. This is often called a hypnagogic state. This is where people can talk to you. You might be able to hear them and you remember what they said the next day, but your motor cortex is most likely shut down at this point, and so it would be difficult for you to move, blink your eyes or something in response. So we know that when audio stimulation continues through N2, it will actually prolong the N2 phase of sleep. And so this new feature, Drift, is supposed to use our sleep staging algorithm in the background to detect when you have entered N2 sleep and then fade out the audio over that period of time. So we, instead of prolonging the time you're in N2 sleep, actually let your brain naturally drift off to deep sleep. So this feature should help you get more sleep recovery and more time in deep sleep. We've been working on this furiously for over 2 months or so. It's remarkably nuanced getting this feature to work. So we've had some of our beta testers that are more sensitive to the audio stimulation report that if we taper off the audio too soon, the actual tapering, fading out of the audio actually wakes them up. So their brain has been entrained, they've gotten used to the audio stimulation. And so literally just the decreasing of the volume wakes them up. So we've had to fine tune how we faded out the audio. And I know there was a question about this, about the accuracy of our sleep staging. That is also something that is improved in order to make the drift feature work better. So looking at the screen that I've been sharing for a while here, this is literally one of my test phones, by the way. I have this shared on. So normally you see the start session button. All of this work is all summarized in this one convenient toggle switch in which you can toggle the drift feature on and off. And apologies, I'm currently debugging something right now, so this is going to blink in and out. So when you toggle the drift feature on and you start a session there afterwards, as soon as our machine learning system detects that you've entered into sleep, we'll start fading out the audio. There is a safety net in the drift feature. If you have not fallen asleep for some reason in 60 minutes, we will also taper out the audio. If you turn drift off, however, you basically keep the current stimulation paradigm, which is based on a timer, 20 minutes of full volume stimulation, and then tapering out over 10 minutes afterwards. There's also a little explanation of drift. If you click that little information icon, there's an explanation about the 60 minutes max duration versus what it means to have it off as well. So in case you don't remember what I'm saying here, you can also check there. Of course, we will be very interested in knowing how well drift works for you guys once we release this feature, and we will continue to fine tune these things. Great. Any questions about this? Type it in the Q&A.
Great. So just to reiterate, everyone, we're moving away from the timer-based stimulation to one that will fade the stimulation out on detection of sleep. You can choose to keep this feature on by toggling on drift, or you can turn it off if you want to maintain the timer base. But we definitely recommend trying it out. I love it. A lot of people like it, but some people and who have been beta testing it have actually asked to go back to the timer base, which is why we decided to make it a toggleable feature that you can choose to have on or off. All right, let's get back into some of the questions. Okay, Aaron Benson asks, what's the difference between Apple Watch Deep Sleep and your deep sleep metrics? So Aaron and anyone else that's interested in how do our sleep metrics differ from not just Apple Watch, but any other sleep tracker that isn't using EEG. And remember, EEG is the measurement of your brain waves from, apologies for the lighting, these EEG sensors on your headband. So when you're using any other type of sleep tracker that might be, for example, on your ring or on your wrist, those devices are indirectly measuring sleep by looking at things like heart rate, body movement, breathing rate, things that aren't an exact measurement of sleep, but indirectly infer what stage of sleep you might be in. So those inherently, we don't necessarily want to say are inaccurate, but they're not as precise as directly measuring sleep, which only can be done by directly measuring the brainwaves, which is what Elemind does. That doesn't mean that Elemind always gets it right. However, when we have good contact with your skin and we are able to clearly read your brainwaves, Elemind is extremely accurate. So we had a number of people in our beta test come to us saying, hey, I don't understand. I've been wearing my ring for the last several years, and my ring has always told me that I never had any deep sleep. So it's impossible that I have deep sleep with Elemind. How is it that Elemind's telling me I have so much deep sleep? So we actually went to the source. We went to look at their EEG data, like literally their brainwave patterns, which we'd be happy to show you today what that actually looks like. Not just the hypnogram that you have in your app, but actually the EEG brain data. And we were able to show them exactly that their brain did indeed have deep sleep. So it's not just, hey, which device is right. We were able to show very clearly in the data why there was deep sleep, because we were able to measure that with the slow delta waves in their spectrograms. So every device is going to have a different algorithm that calculates sleep differently based on different things, which is why you're going to get different data from different companies and different devices. We know that that can be frustrating for people because you don't know which one to trust. If you're wearing Elemind properly, we do tend to be biased towards trusting your EEG-based data versus other types of sleep tracking data that are coming from other types of devices. Hopefully that answered your question. David, do you want to add anything to that, or do you think I have that covered?
Nope, I think that was great.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Rhonda Snyder asked, I would like to know if you can add to the graph the exact time the button is pushed during the night. So I think what Rhonda is asking for is some sort of visualization in her data to know exactly when the stimulation was on or off. That is something that we do want to add in. With all of these things, I'm sure you guys are going to have incredible ideas as I'm looking through your chat here. And for us, it just comes down to which features we prioritize. And we're going to prioritize the features that impact you all the most. As in, which features do you guys want the most? You guys told us, hey, I really want the stimulation to drop off as soon as I'm asleep, or I really want this to, I don't fall asleep within the 30 minutes. I want to have it go longer. I don't want to have to keep pressing the button. And that's why we're launching Drift. So we're going to be polling you guys throughout the session today as you introduce features to us that you want launched, and we will see which ones most people want and then try to prioritize those in our roadmap. David, Joe, and Rashawn, if there are any questions that you guys want to answer, feel free to just jump in. I'll keep reading through the list.
Actually, there are a few. So actually, first, let me start with a high level. We really do value the feedback that you guys provide and the requests for features. So there are a few features that Drift obviously was one of them that was requested in the past. There's another one that we also just started working on, which is improving the data visualizations. We had been asked in the past if we could show the data as to what the sleeping orientation is, whether they're on their back, on their sides. So we have that, and we're actively working on that now to add the visualization for the accelerometer. So what's interesting here is other wearable accelerometers that you might wear on your finger or on your wrist, for example, going to show the orientation of your hand, but they don't provide an accurate representation of the orientation of your head, which perhaps affects your sleep more, potentially if you have apnea, but also could be informative for you for understanding like hip jerks if you move over the course of the night. So we'll visualize that. And then coming shortly after that one, since we are recording EEG brain data, we thought it would be interesting for you guys to see the EEG spectrogram. So on previous versions of this webinar, we've shown this colorful plot that's provided a breakdown of what your EEG is doing at every moment of the night over what frequency ranges. And it doesn't actually take too long. Within a few minutes of looking at it, you'll understand what colors indicate what stages of sleep. So you can see that for yourselves. And we thought that would be really valuable for you guys. So that's also coming for data visualization. So Rhonda, your question about showing the button pushes, that's definitely something we can try to roll in for that. The other thing I wanted to address was I saw at least 2 comments about slow data upload issues and needing to reset the device. I am absolutely aware of that, and it will be something fixed when we release this Drift feature. So apologies that the Drift feature has been delayed trying to tune that part, but that will be one of the bug fixes. In case you guys do want to know the details of it, the headband collects data as to the headband's own internal operating health, and we found out that it's actually collecting a little too frequently. So what ends up happening is if the headband does not have a good connection to the phone, the headband gets filled with its own internal health monitoring data, such as like what is its power state, if there's any faults, there's many memory corruption issues or things like that. And then it tries to send us that data. And it does so basically at the expense of uploading the user metrics file reliably. It's something that we've fixed within Drift. So when the new firmware for Drift comes out and gets uploaded, all of those stale all that still health information on the headband will be deleted, and it should alleviate this issue for you. So we always intended the headband not to be used with the phone, so this was a mistake on our part, and apologies for that. But we'll try to get it fixed as soon as possible when this feature gets released.
Great. Let's see here. So there's been a couple questions from both Mary and Ryan Berg requesting that that we offer some examples of what a good night of sleep actually looks like, so that they can compare their data to someone else's data. We actually deliberately decided not to put in some sort of comparative numbers or a score or something like that in the app, because while it might be interesting intellectually for you to be able to compare, if you are somebody that struggles with sleep, we didn't want to rub it in, so to speak. You know, imagine that you're trying to lose weight and you're 400 pounds and you have to be reminded every day that somebody else is 120 pounds. That might, you know, I don't know how motivating that would be for people. So, you know, we aware of something called orthosomnia, where people are continuously tracking their sleep with data and comparing that data to others, that it can actually create more anxiety around the night than not. What we could potentially do is have it be optional, where people could look to see, hey, how does my data tonight compare to my best night of sleep, or how does it compare to the average person who's, you know, my age, height, and gender. That could be, if you guys are interested in that, please let us know if that would be interesting to you. But we deliberately decided to omit that, as to not create an unnecessary stressor. But thank you, Mary.
Is anyone else hearing audio difficulties, or am I just the one hearing it?
When you were speaking there, Joe, I did hear a little bit of crackling, but otherwise I'm okay.
Hear Meredith okay, though?
Yeah.
Okay, it might just be me. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Great. Let's see here. Vance, it seems like the Elemind needs to be charged daily. Is that the case? Is the intent to wear the Elemind all night? So first of all, we're not very prescriptive in how Elemind is worn. If you're somebody that benefits from wearing the device only at the beginning of the night, or if you're somebody that benefits from only wearing the device after you wake up, or even if you just use it for a nap, or just use it on an airplane, you can use it however you'd like. We are here to support you through your whole sleep journey. However, we have designed the headband so that it can be worn all night, and the vast majority of our users do wear it all night. We worked very hard to make the headband as comfortable as we possibly could, so that it would be non-problematic to wear the headband all night from any sleeping position, as long as you're not wearing it too tight. There are some benefits to wearing it all night, which is, if you are wearing it all night, then we can track your sleep all night, which means that you can get an accurate picture of your sleep the next day. Whereas if you're just wearing it for half the night, then the data that's going to show up the next day is only half of your data. So it'll only tell you that you slept for 2 hours, when obviously that's not correct. Separately, we find that it's much better for people if you're somebody that struggles with going back to sleep. If all you have to do, and for those of you who aren't aware of this, if you wake up in the middle of the night and need to fall back to sleep, you do not need to go into your app. You can just tap the action button, which is right on the bottom, right here next to the charging port. You tap it once and it restarts the stimulation. You should expect to not hear any sound in the middle of the night, because as we said in the beginning, the sound is designed to only help people transition from states of wakefulness to sleep. It's not meant to be played all night. But if you want to go back to sleep, you touch that button once. We think it is much easier to just simply touch that action button to help you fall back to sleep than it is to fumble around in the middle of the night, try to find your headband on your nightstand, put it on, deal with the app, all that kind of stuff. We think that action, that behavior would probably wake you up more. So if you're somebody that doesn't have any trouble falling asleep, but your issue is in the middle of the night, try wearing it at the start of the night, just even for the middle of the night wake-ups. See if that actually helps cut down some of the time that it takes for you to fall back asleep. And then later on, when we do introduce things like deep sleep stimulation, you will need to wear it all night in order to experience the effect. You are not conscious while you're in deep sleep. So this is not something that you would be able to say, hey, I'm in deep sleep, now I'm going to put my headband on. Instead, we will detect once your brain is in deep sleep, and we will start stimulating at a volume level that is hopefully too quiet for you to wake up from, and that will amplify your slow waves and hopefully keep you in deep sleep longer. But that can't happen if you're not wearing the headband over the course of the night. And then your question around, it seems like Elemind needs to be charged daily. Is that the case? If you are on the latest firmware, it should not actually need to be charged daily. The headband now lasts for at least a couple of days, but that also depends on your usage patterns. If you're somebody that is using Elemind all day long, pressing that go back to sleep button continuously, then you're going to drain your battery faster than somebody who is passively recording their brain for most of the night and using the technology to help them accelerate their sleep onset at the start of the night. While the headband can now last longer because we've improved battery efficiency, we still recommend that people charge it daily so that you can just get in the habit of charging it as soon as you wake up the next day, and it's always going to be ready to go for you the next night. We find that when people take, when there's maybe 3 days or so in between charges, it's more difficult to develop that habit of charging, and people will forget to charge. So, there's no problem with just sticking it on the charger every day and using it when you're ready to go to sleep.
Sorry, to be painfully pedantic about that answer, the way we actually test the life of the headband is we assume the sleep sessions run for 10 hours, and that we will have to play audio in the worst case for up to 1 hour. So we know right now with the headband that we're able to run it for basically 2.5 sessions, so about 25 hours or so. So we're able to play the audio sequence to help someone fall asleep 3 times, but it kind of dies during the sensor recording during that 3rd night. So it is possible to use the headband when it's still showing its yellow, orangish, low, medium battery light. Again, it's just not something we recommend because we can't guarantee that I'll make it throughout that entire session, but should be possible. Meredith, if I could tackle another question.
Go for it.
Billy Getty asked, doesn't traditional CES neuromodulation work by entraining brainwaves to match introduced electrical waves? If so, how would some methods, Elemind, interfere with brainwaves while other introduce new waves? Yeah, so CES is an abbreviation for cranial electrotherapy stimulation. At least I think that's what you're referring to. So there's a lot of different forms of CES. There's TACS, TDCS. There's even forms of just high current electrotherapy as well. And it is true, those forms of electrotherapy do directly entrain the brainwaves. And entraining the brainwaves is actually something everyone here is probably familiar with. When you listen to any pop song and there's that regular beat in the background, your heartbeat actually syncs up to that sound after a while, maybe like 5 or 10 minutes or so. And that happens through your brain as the intermediary. So entrainment is a common thing, and it does work through CES to entrain the brain. Entraining the brain is one thing though. So entraining the brain often works to increase or I suppose synchronize the brain activity with a particular frequency. In our case, we're trying to interfere with alpha. We're actually trying to suppress it. So entrainment here doesn't actually help in that sense. We're trying to boost some lower frequency brainwaves, and we found that purely trying to, so when someone's awake, purely trying to entrain them to like a 1 hertz oscillation takes longer than actually trying to suppress their alpha. So you could listen to soothing music, 1 hertz on music. It will calm your overall nervous system down, but falling asleep from that usually takes longer than the alpha cancellation stimulation that we're trying to do.
Were there more questions you wanted to answer, David?
No, sorry, that was the one I had queued up, but no, not yet.
That's great.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure what to do about this, but I noticed there were 2 early comments from Daniel Saylor and Daniel T saying that they wore the headband and it worked great until about a month ago, and then it kind of stopped working. I'd actually be really interested to talking with both of you, and I'm not sure how to go about making that connection. Maybe if you guys could email customer support and they'll put you in touch with me. Would love to just talk with you guys and see what's going on. This would be a new behavior. And I'm just really curious what's going on, and if there's something that we can do to help.
Great. I was also going to answer David's question. David asked that he wrote earlier about his sleep degrading recently. The headband was literally magic up until about a month ago. So one, we're excited if you're open to it to chat more with David so we can learn more about you and see what's going on. There could be a wide range of reasons why this could happen. Anything from, hey, your headband isn't reading your brainwaves anymore, there's something wrong with your hardware, to something has changed in your own biology or neurology, something has changed in your life, to maybe you just need to take a break for a week. So that's why it might be better for us to talk with you offline. Everyone is different and we'd love to try to fix your situation. Let's see. Okay. All right, so we just answered Daniel T's.
Sorry, I've got another one. I'm going to butcher your name and I apologize. Tamiri Balance. Will our data be downloadable at some point? That is absolutely a feature you should request if we're going to put up that feature request poll, but I will make a note of it at the point. We have been talking about that internally. Once we get the sleep spectrogram visualization available in the app, it will be easier to make your data available to you. One thing that we've been trying to figure out is what does that exactly mean, making the data available to you? Since we have users from all walks of life, from those that just want to see the plot all the way to like those that really want to get like the raw values in like a MATLAB or Python format that they can actually do some interesting science with. So I'm curious in understanding what range of that you're interested in. Yeah, so hopefully the spectrogram will scratch the itch for those people that just want to see the data but don't really want to get into it. But if you are interested in downloading the data set, please post like another comment and question and answer, just so I know. It's actually, the biggest question for me is not giving you access to it, it's what type of interface would be meaningful. So like creating a beautiful, sexy interface with nice visualizations for it, that takes a lot of time. But if you just want to, sign in, click a link and download raw files or have those files emailed to you every day, that's a whole nother thing. That would be relatively straightforward. And so the question is like, what range of, I don't know, customer user experience are you interested in?
In a previous webinar, we had showed everyone here what a spectrogram looked like with the sleep hypnogram that you see in your app overlaid on the spectrogram. I don't know how many people in this webinar were in that previous webinar, but if that's something that you'd like to see, we'd be happy to show it to you. At the very least, today in the webinar, and again, if this is an interesting feature that you want to see in your app, we will release a poll later to see which features are most interesting to you. But yeah, if you are interested in seeing a spectrogram that's labeled today here live, that one you can actually throw in the chat. Just let us know, or maybe Joe, can we make that a poll? Hopefully we can make that a poll so you can let us know if you want to see that. Okay, so another question from David Saylor. Having full contact has been difficult for me. At startup, I see that the contact is made by pressing the band at my ears. If I let go, it usually goes back to red. Also, I side sleep, so one side of my head makes contact with the pillow. Presumably the pressure from the pillow makes a better contact. Is one side enough? So first, let's talk about the question of, is one side enough? The headband is designed with repetition in mind, or redundancy in mind. Sorry, not repetition. We have multiple electrodes on the headband, as you can see. So there's three EEG electrodes on the forehead. This middle thing here is actually your bone conduction transducer. That is not a brain sensor. And then we have, again, sorry for the lighting, the two sensors that go over your ears are brain sensors. So they're not just for decoration. Now, you actually only need contact at any given time with one ear sensor and one forehead sensor for Elemind to accurately read your brain and stimulate the brain. When we say we have redundancy, we actually choose in real time which electrodes, which sensors on the headband that we should be reading from based on which we're getting the best signal from. This is something that David, our co-founder and CTO, brilliantly engineered. We call it channel switching. So we can in real time switch from electrode to electrode as you're moving around, as your headband might become loose on one side. So the answer to you, David Saylor, is one side indeed is enough. In fact, just one electrode and one ear sensor at any given time is enough, which you might also, you might have realized this if you're playing around with the signal quality sensor in the app. You might see it's like literally either all red or all green. We did that purposefully. We didn't want you having to hunt down which electrode wasn't making good contact and then try to fix that and then get something else screwed up. We let you know that you're all systems clear as long as we can read your brain accurately with at least one ear sensor, which we call the ground, and one forehead sensor, which is reading your frontal lobe and your brain. So hopefully that answers part of your question. And then regarding contact, a lot of people have difficulty with contact that is made easier by simply just wearing the headband for a little bit longer. So let me explain. Actually, David, do you want to explain this part? Why does heat and wearing the headband a little bit longer and maybe even scrubbing your face before you put the headband on help with conductivity?
Well, hopefully not. Well, all right. All right. So, oh, how nerdy should I get?
Just a little nerdy. Just a little.
All right. So, measuring your brain waves is an interesting one. While we say your brain is an electrochemical organ, it is also quite efficient. The amount of electrons that your body produces is actually not that much. It's tiny. So the trickle of current we get off your head is in the order of picoamps. It's incredibly small. So all sorts of things like oil, makeup, dead skin, and things like that actually interfere with our ability to pick up the signal. And so often wiping or cleaning these things off your skin help us get the signal. But the interesting thing is, why does wearing the electrode help over time? It's actually because when you wear the electrode, you sweat a little bit under the electrode. And when you do that, sweat is a natural electrolyte. It actually, any dry skin that you might have, which we all have it, it actually hydrolyzes that skin and makes it more conductive. So that little few picoamps of current we're able to get off of your head, we're actually able to have a little bit more of that current come through our electrodes so we can measure it more accurately. So that's why sometimes wearing the electrodes for like 4 or 5 minutes will help increase the conductivity over time, literally because you're sweating a little bit under that electrode. So we're able to get more electrons off of your body.
Okay, let's see here. Let's see. So this one's a controversial one. Mike Whitney says, after using Elemind for several months, I've noticed I sleep better even when I don't use it. What's happening? So what we think might actually be happening is you might have developed better sleep hygiene. You know, if Elemind helped you get into a good routine and established and help you establish getting good sleep night after night, what we actually saw in our sleep studies is that we were improving sleep efficiency overall, and that we're improving the regularity of sleep. People were going to bed closer, at around the same time every night. They were waking up at around the same time every night because there was less of a fluctuation day by day of going from, getting 2 hours of sleep to then sleeping for 10 hours the next day and vice versa. So it is possible that throughout the process of using Elemind that you develop better sleep hygiene, your habits are better, and you're now able to sleep better. But of course, everyone is different. We don't know what your specific situation is, Mike, but all I can say is that we're happy that things are better for you now, regardless of what helped you get there. Elemind is one tool in your tool chest. It is not a silver bullet. It is something that certainly can help the majority of people that we tested on, but it doesn't help everybody. And there are many different factors that impact sleep. that we can't control, especially if you have something that is creating some sort of insomnia for you that is some other condition that that we can't impact. So we try to help as many people as we can. We can't help everybody, and brains are quite complex. So wish I could answer your question more specifically, but we're glad that you are sleeping better even when you're not using it, Mike. Okay, let's see here. Vance says, no question here. I've worn Elemind for 3 out of 4 nights. I've gotten 100% sleep score on all 4 nights. This is far from normal for me. We love to hear success stories. Thank you, Vance. Thank you for sleeping with Elemind. Paul asked, you've expected release timelines for the drift and deep sleep features respectively. So we like to be careful about not sharing dates because we don't want to give you a date and then miss it. That said, the drift feature is coming out next, and we're actively working on delivering it to you. We're close enough where we felt confident to share it with you today, but it is not ready right now. It will be ready soon for all Elemind members. And the deep sleep feature, at least as of now, we're prioritizing to come after that, unless, of course, you tell us today that you would prefer something else. And the majority of you tell us not to. With that in mind, somebody else asked, I think it was Chris Anderson. I believe it was Chris Anderson. Well, I can't find the question, but somebody asked, how is it that you actually can, oh, it's Thomas Cable. How do you actually stimulate more slow wave deep sleep? David, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, sure. So this was actually the pioneering work from a researcher named NGO, as well as Sanastasi and Tononi at Northwestern University, that showed that if you stimulated at a particular phase, so imagine your brain waves are oscillating away, you're in slow wave sleep or deep sleep at this point. We see literally like a slow 1 Hertz sine wave oscillation. And these clever researchers figured out that if you could stimulate at a particular time during that oscillation, you could increase the amplitude of the next subsequent, I think, 2 or 3 oscillations that followed it. And so that's fundamentally the basis of slow wave sleep stimulation. Not necessarily stimulating at every single peak or trough or at the correct phase of every oscillation, but stimulating every once in a while to keep the slow wave oscillations moving along.
Great. Now we can actually go to Chris Anderson's question. Sorry for calling you out there before. Chris asked, might brain training be an option in the future, like using EEG feedback to encourage mental calming exercises? Certainly, that's something that we could absolutely do with the hardware in our device. It's not something that we've prioritized because the main differentiator of this technology is our ability to neuromodulate without the user needing to do anything. Whereas if anyone has done EEG neurofeedback or brain training, the user has to be involved. And we wanted to bring the greatest amount of change for the lowest amount of effort with Elemind's neurostimulation. But if EEG brain training and neurofeedback is something that you would really like to have in this product, again, hate to be a broken record, but let us know. Let us know. Let's see here. A lot of people are asking for the sleep graphs and sleep data to be made larger, or at least zoom outable. So something for us to note on the Elemind team. Sorry about that. And then people are asking about how they can share their data with their doctors. So we are going to ultimately introduce some sort of data sharing feature. For now, the best thing that you could do if you want to share like a weekly or monthly view is simply to go into your app. In the data section of your app, you will see that there is a daily view, a weekly view, and a nightly view. And when you zoom out and you look at your weekly and you look at your monthly, you will actually start to see trends in your data over time. So I would recommend just taking a screenshot of that data and emailing the screenshot to your doctor, or you could even print that out and bring it into your doctor's office if that were interesting to you. You can also take a screenshot, and if you need help on how to take a screenshot, tell us what kind of phone you have, and we will send you instructions on how to take a screenshot, how to email it, or print it, or something like that. But that's the best way to do it now. Sorry that we don't have an easier email out functionality. Ali Amini, I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, asked two different questions. Are there any age limitations and any contraindications for underlying neurological diseases? Regarding age limitations, there are no age limitations. We do have an age minimum right now to use our product for two different reasons. And that age minimum is 13. That is strictly because of data laws. And also the size of our headband. So that our headband is designed to be worn by adult-sized heads. So if you have somebody under the age of 13, you might find that even our smallest size headband is just too large for your head. But also, we're not legally allowed to collect data from people under the age of 13, which is why this is a 13 and up product. We have not tested on children formally. We have many people that test on their own kids informally. But we have no data that we can share from any clinical studies on the efficacy of using Elemind for younger people. We do have many older customers. I believe our clinical trials went up to the age of 65, but we have lots of customers over the age of 65, including my father. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to use the product at any age, except for our legal reasons of beyond the age of 13. Let's see here.
Sorry, I wanted to add just there's also an interesting biological reason. You guys might not know this. So Elemind particularly stimulates against the alpha frequency of the brainwave. It's approximately 10 hertz oscillation. We always say that because 10 hertz is what we see in adults. It's actually not 10 hertz for kids. The prefrontal cortex is still forming. And that frequency is actually much lower. So kids, when they're about 1 or 2 years old, have an alpha frequency that's not well formed, but it's around 5 hertz, and it actually increases as they age. So sometimes as late as students in their 20s still have an 8 hertz alpha oscillation, so it's not high as adults. So there's another interesting biological reason. I actually would like to tackle two difficult questions from Parisa Farzi. Posted this in the chat. Is it possible to use this device simultaneously with hypoglossal muscle stimulation device, which is placed under the chin and provides electrical stimulation for patients with sleep apnea? So the short answer to the question is I do not know. The longer answer to this question is this considered a contraindication? No, it is not. Your stimulation device will not damage Elemind's device. It's potentially possible that Elemind's device will still work through this. What I do not know is that electrical stimulation, one, what frequency it is at. It might be at a frequency that our device inherently filters out anyways, so it won't interfere with us at all. The other interesting possibility is that electrical stimulation, if it does induce any current or voltage across your skin, it might actually reach the ear before it does your forehead. And so we might not be able to reject that electrical stimulation. So on our actual raw EEG recordings, every single time that sleep apnea device provides that electrical stimulation, we might actually see it as a disturbance in the recording. So the short answer is no, it won't cause any damage to the Elemind device, but I honestly do not know whether it would still work with it or not. You ask another question, during the period of using the headband, should patients who are currently taking medications for insomnia adjust their medication dosage? So as a health and wellness device, we cannot provide medical advice as to whether you should or should not continue using your medication. I mean, my recommendation is that if your doctor recommends the medication, that you should continue using the medication and use the Elemind headband on top of it and see if it improves the situation from there. And then I leave this conversation up to you and your medical professional as to how you might want to adjust the dosage as an experiment. But we haven't done that sort of test yet. As for how long does Elemind take to be effective, honestly, it should be effective from the first night, barring the fact that it takes time to get used to the new procedure of going to sleep with a headband on your head and getting used to that feeling. So we say give it a week to get used to wearing this thing. But if you're used to wearing it already, there's technically no like period of adjustment that's needed.
One thing to add there, I'm just actually super curious. So one thing you guys might be interested in is we do a lot of research at Elemind, and we have many different universities that use our device to conduct research across a variety of different applications with our neuromodulation tool. And so while you guys see what we do in sleep, there's some other interesting things that might be relevant here. One of them is we had some anesthesiologists at WashU and McGill conduct a research trial where they combined Elemind with anesthesia and while somebody's undergoing surgery. And they actually found that not only can Elemind enhance the sedative effect of the anesthesia, but you actually get the benefits of natural sleep when you combine Elemind with anesthesia. Why is this interesting? Normally when somebody undergoes anesthesia, they don't actually get the benefits of natural sleep. It's simply a sedative. So while it might feel like you got a great rest, it wasn't actually, you're not getting all the benefits of what you get when you really have natural sleep. So they were getting all of those benefits when they combined Elemind with the anesthesia. The reason why I'm saying this is I would be very curious if you are somebody who takes a sleep drug and you use Elemind, if you feel different in the morning. If you're open to sharing that with us, either in the chat or if you want to privately email us to the support@Elemind Tech email, that would be something that we'd be very interested in studying at some point. What does it look like for people who combine Elemind with a sleep drug? Because sleep drugs are sedatives as well. And we know that there are similar issues with sleep drugs where, you're not getting the full benefits of natural sleep if you're just taking a sleep drug. So we'd be very curious to see if similar results would happen when you combine Elemind with a sleep drug as well. So just if you happened to be one of those people and you happen to want to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Rhonda, love this product. I got 8 hours and 45 minutes last night and didn't wake up to go to the bathroom until 5:45 a.m. Congratulations, Rhonda. We're very proud of you. Okay, let's see here. Randall says, last night I woke up and seemed too energized and then had a problem getting back to sleep, and the Elemind sound just seemed annoying at that time. Any suggestions? I would actually like to hand this question off to David. Many of you might be wondering, why is it that the sound is so strange? Why is it so scratchy sounding? Why didn't you make it some pleasant, beautiful sound that will just calm me to sleep? There's a reason why Elemind sounds the way it does, and why it's so effective because it sounds the way it sounds. David, do you want to go into that?
Oh, way to throw me under the bus, Meredith. Thanks for that. Right. So we do those we do those pink noise bursts, and I'm going to answer it in the worst way possible and go back and clarify it. The reason we do those pink noise bursts is because pink noise is commonly used in neuroscience acoustic-based stimulation. The reason is pink noise, all the different frequencies are perceived at even loudness. And so for people with various forms of hearing loss, it ensures that we are able to reliably stimulate their auditory cortex, even if they can't hear specific frequencies. So that's why pink. Why is it annoying sounding? It's actually supposed to be annoying sounding, or it's supposed to drive your auditory cortex in a particular way. So what we're actually trying to do is every single time we play one of those audio sounds, we are relying on a holdover from evolution in which your auditory cortex never completely shuts down. Every single time we play that pulse, it actually causes your auditory cortex to create an event-related audio potential. It is a electrical waveform created by your audio cortex. It has a very particular shape and timing to it. It varies a little bit from individual to individual, but we're trying to use that waveform to interfere with other regions of your brain. And we only get that waveform reliably if we play a sound that is a little jarring. So we specifically play sound that goes from quiet to loud and loud to quiet, that sound, in order to get that response. So I will say something we have talked about in the past is potentially replacing the pink noise sound with something that is at least aesthetically more pleasing, I suppose. So everyone knows we play this rain sound in the background. Scientifically, we actually call it a masking sound, because playing the rain sound in the background is, in theory, supposed to make that primary stimulus less effective. But we play it because it makes the overall experience a little bit more calming. And it makes that stimulation sound blend in a little bit more to the background. So another form of stimulation sound could be raindrops plopping, like big fat plop, plop, plop raindrops. And we might reduce their frequency a little bit. We've also talked about some things like playing like a soothing soundtrack in the background as if from a record player, and then playing some like clicks and pops instead, as you might hear if you were listening to vintage vinyl. Would be interested in knowing if you guys would like that feature as well.
Great.
Meredith,
Also,
oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, to make it less annoying, one thing that's really important, we've talked about this in some of our other webinars, is you just need to be able to hear the sound for the stimulation to have an effect. So the sound does not need to be on loud. In fact, you can turn it down to the lowest volume that your brain can still clearly hear each individual pulse, because the sound is literally just it will work if the brain understands that the sound that it's hearing is a stimulus, but it shouldn't have to annoy you. I mean, it might be a little bit annoying for the jarring reason that David said, but you can feel free to turn the sound down as long as you can still hear it. And if you're somebody who says, I actually don't even want the stimulation on, I just am curious about tracking my brain, well, there's actually a way to do that. After you turn on the stimulation, either by tapping start session in the app or double tapping the action button on the headband, when you hear the sound stimulation on, you can pause that stimulation, but keep the EEG recording going by tapping the action button once while the sound is on. You will find that the sound then pauses. You can turn the sound back on by tapping the action button once more again. And that will ensure that your session, that we still record your EEG data over the course of the night, but you're not actually hearing stimulation. So if you're somebody that wants to experiment as well, to see, hey, what does my sleep look like with and without stimulation? You can actually try doing a baseline recording by recording with no sound stimulation over the course of, I would say, maybe a week, and then doing a week of just stimulation and recording your brain then. And then you can have a comparison. You can say, what does my brain look like with stimulation, and what does my brain look like without? How am I sleeping better with Elemind and versus without? So that's an interesting tool for you guys to try as well.
I could jump in here, Meredith. So I'm seeing both in the chat and as well in Q&A. Some people are interested in the spectrogram, some people are not. But we did mention earlier that we would show you one as an example. And I thought I would show you that one now. Even for those people that are not interested in seeing it, I thought it might be interesting just to get an understanding of what things look like. And where is sorry, what is going on here? Oh, there we go. Okay. Hopefully that's appearing for everyone. All right. So this is your sleep staging, that black line overlaid on this colorful picture that is the spectrogram. So the way to read the spectrogram is the bottom x-axis here is time. The vertical axis here is frequency. We've mentioned during the call a few times that we're stimulating to try to suppress alpha. So here you can see there's kind of this dark red line here between 5 and 10. It's approximately 8.5 hertz. So this individual's alpha. You can see that it starts to peter out. So at first it's really dark. It's got a strong amplitude to it. But then as they start to fall asleep, it starts to blink in and out. And then eventually the frequency falls just a little bit right before they enter light sleep. So we're in light sleep at this point. So this is a blend of N1 and N2. And then once they transition to deep sleep, we see there's a lot more energy down here at the lower frequencies at the 1 hertz, 2 hertz range. And we also see that there's some broad spectrum noise here at approximately maybe the 12 to 14 hertz range. These are spindles. So the more density of this that we see, the more long-term memory formation that is happening. So by looking at these features is basically how we know when someone's awake, falling asleep, entering N1, N2 versus they're in deep sleep. So you can see the overall sleep staging laid on here. In case any of you are wondering, there's this dark blue thing up here. This is nothing to do with your brain. In order to determine whether the Elemind headband is making good contact with your skin, we introduce a 32.5 hertz frequency through all the electrodes, and we can read that frequency back to determine whether the electrodes are making good contact with you or not. So we've just subtracted that frequency here, which is why you see the dark blue up here. So that's what a spectrogram looks like. I will say though, this is not, if you were to go to a sleep clinic and get a professional EEG recording done with a polysomnogram machine, they would not really score your sleep staging by looking at this picture. What they actually look at is something that looks more, if you look at the bottom of this plot here, you'll see there's awake, N1, N2, and N3. So when you're awake, this is the alpha activity that we see. This is that 10 hertz oscillation we've been talking about. When you start to go to sleep, for N1, we see more 5 hertz theta activity, and that's what that looks like. At N2, we still see that theta activity, but the alpha frequency has started to dissipate, and we start to see these high frequency spindle bursts, this approximately 14 hertz oscillation. And then finally, when you're in slow wave or deep sleep, we see this almost perfect sinusoidal 1 hertz oscillation that's down here. So normally, if you were to go to a sleep clinic and they provide you your sleep hypnogram, a sleep technician, a human, would be looking at your entire night's recording and scoring your sleep staging, looking for these particular signatures in the time series data. Since I'm showing this, I'll just mention it. So we've compared the Elemind headband against a professional PSG system, polysomnogram machine that you might get from sleep clinics. So this is how the two spectrograms compare to each other. And this is a confusion matrix showing how well Elemind's sleep staging does against that professional recording system. And it's just interesting to note here that we do certainly very well when you're in deep sleep. We do a pretty good job classifying that. For wake and REM, we do an okay job at this. This 81%, 79% agreement. This is approximately what you would get if you had different human scores scoring the system. But you'll notice for N1 and N2 here, or N1 in particular, it's hard. It's really hard to know when someone is just drifting off to sleep. So for this reason, we normally combine the N1 and N2 scores into light sleep. It makes it easier for us to classify that versus making the distinction between these two.
Yes. So with that said, when you see time to fall asleep in your app, we're not using that 0.338 number. We're using something with higher confidence, which is what David was showing you before.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going, David.
Oh, no, that's about all I had to share.
So everyone, when we shared with you earlier that we were interested in sharing, that sharing a spectrogram might be something, might be an interesting feature that you might want to see in your app. What David was just showing you is exactly that. It's a spectrogram. It gives you an entirely different flavor of what happened over the course of the night. You can see very clearly why the algorithm, actually, David, you want to bring that up
Oh, yeah.
one more time just so we can look at that? So, you know, if you look at your hypnogram in your app, the hypnogram, which is that, you know, picture at the start of the night, will follow this black line. So you see the black line that overlays those colorful images. That's where we get your hypnogram. And we infer that hypnogram from this frequency plot, this time frequency plot.
No, we do the machine learning just like a human score would on the raw time series data. It's just, it would be incredibly difficult to look at a time series plot of your EEG data and make anything of it. So we always like to overlay the hypnogram on top of the spectrogram because it makes it's a nice visual summary of what has happened.
Sure. Well, the point is that it is a summary that you can see in your app. And if you're able to look at your spectrogram, you can see why we're showing you the data that we're showing you, how we got to that conclusion, which may or may not be interesting to you. So that's what we're trying to figure out. Is it interesting enough to you for us to spend the time and energy on making that a feature? Okay, we can pull that down, David.
Yep. Yep.
I do believe we are over time now.
We are.
But we really appreciate everyone's enthusiasm, everyone's questions. If you had a question today that we didn't have time to answer, please email us. We tried to get through as many as we could, but we still care about your opinion. In fact, we can share the results here. Actually, before we go, if you have not contributed to the poll, which is which features would you like to see in our upcoming release? We've only had a fraction of you guys participate in that. Please tell us what you want in the product. We'll hang on here for another couple minutes for you to fill that out. And then we'll share the results if you're interested in seeing it. So
The
please
poll
take a
actually
couple
closed, Meredith. So
Oh, the poll closed. Okay, never mind.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. But yeah, so we're sharing it sounds like everybody wants deep sleep. So
Okay. All right.
so we'll get to work on that.
David, it's time for you to, cancel
gonna
your
have to-
sleep for tonight to get going on that.
Oh, I'm gonna have to retask the engineering team. Okay. All right.
All right, guys. Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Thank
for
you, everyone.
joining. Bye.